He's like really like upset that you just put him out there on blast and he had a Donald Duck turntable. Next time I see him, I'm gonna be like, "What did Donald Duck say? Was he? No, he wasn't. What's up, Doc? Was he? No, that was
No,
somebody
no,
else.
that was the rabbit bunny, Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever Donald Duck's saying is when I see him again, that's what I'm gonna say to him. Hey, DJ Stone. Hey,
He was
folks.
Stone MC. He was Stone MC. That was.
Oh my God.
I'm serious. He was Stone. He actually had a Christian rap career at one point
So he's
and did
been
a
Stone
demo.
all these years. Wow.
Yes, yes,
Donald Duck, the rapping biker.
yes. There you go.
Wait till I see him. In fact, I'm gonna make sure that's sooner than later. Hey, folks, it's the Power Hour brought to you this morning by Power Interfaith. They are the sponsor. And they probably tell you just like WURD, though we're associated with them and though from time to time they claim us, the thoughts and expressions and views heard on this program solely belong to us. And
Yeah.
us, I mean, sitting across from me is Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler, not to be confused with Senator Mark Kelly, Senator-elect of the great state of Arizona.
That's right. That's the astronaut.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, so wait a minute. You had the Mickey Mouse one, right?
I had the Mickey Mouse one,
Okay.
yes.
I just want to. I
Yeah.
don't want to forget that.
Yeah.
Lock that in. And
Yes.
listen, you can join us this morning in this conversation. WURD Radio, 900 AM, 96.1 FM, wordradio.com. You can also check us out on Facebook Live. Look for WURD or on YouTube Live. And I think I'm having problems with my computer here today. I'm like one of those customer service people. I'm sorry, sir, it's running slow. How's your day in Philadelphia today? Yeah. How's the weather there? Yeah, nice. Yeah, it'll just be another moment because my computer is running slow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, but anyway, so how's things going, bro? We got a lot to cover today. How are you feeling today?
I am okay. I'm a little concerned about some of this. I've been reading up about all these lawsuits, and these lawsuits are flying around left and right. As a matter of fact, one of the judges in Montgomery County really, he really was challenging one of Trump's lawyers to put his law license on the line, and basically said to him, it was Judge Haas out of Montgomery County, because they were fighting over 592 provisional ballots that were cast in Montgomery County. And so Trump has been saying fraud, 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 fraud. And so the judge asked the lawyer point blank, "Are you alleging fraud?" And he said no.
Mm-hmm.
He went
Twice.
Yes, he went back and said to him twice, "Are you alleging fraud?" And he said, "No, we believe everybody operated in good faith." Well, that's totally different than what his client is saying and alleging out there. So they're the big lawsuits, which is the big one that they have suing all the counties. And then they're doing these little tiny suits, which go into court of common pleas, which are basically trying to get provisional ballots thrown out, going after the Board of Elections. People are like, well, these are small numbers, but actually if you add them up, they all start to add up to significant numbers after a period of time. But what's happening is that Trump actually, in doing this, will also be throwing out some votes for himself in the process. So this has just become extremely messy. Last night, was talking with some of our leaders, and we had done scenario planning, prior to all of this, and a lot of the scenarios coming into reality for worst case scenario, in terms of, the real plan here is not about these lawsuits. The real plan is to stall until Pennsylvania has to choose electors. And if Pennsylvania has not certified the election by the time the electors have to be certified, there is a legal thought, that then the state legislature chooses the electors. Now, there's a lot of conjecture and debate going on back and forth about this. But what happens is that ultimately it keeps Pennsylvania out of play. Without Pennsylvania totally in play, without the other states being called at this point, it questions whether Joe Biden will have enough electoral votes to actually make the 270. So It's, we still have a ways to go to be able to address all this.
Well, that ain't gonna happen. So I know that's a worst case scenario, but that ain't gonna happen.
I don't believe it's
No,
going to happen, but I think there's going to be a lot of turmoil before we get there. I just
no.
I don't think it's that clean. And you and I have disagreed on this,
Yeah, because
but
yeah,
I just don't think it's going to be that clean.
you know what? It's done. Let me tell you my favorite. I don't know if I've ever said this on air. I know I haven't, as a matter of fact. So my favorite game after Spades, of course. Oh, and put a pin in that. Please remind me to tell you about my new favorite Netflix show.
Okay.
There's or Hulu somewhere. It's the World Series of Spades
Oh, I saw a thing for that the other day. Okay.
with black
I thought
announcers.
that was a joke. Okay. I thought that
No,
was.
you saw it on my page. I posted it.
Oh, okay. Is that where I saw? Okay. All right.
Dude, it's real.
Is
I
it
want
real?
to get on that game. Oh my God. I got to get on there with my cousin Jocko. We will destroy. I'm telling you. So after Spades, though, my favorite game is backgammon.
Hmm.
And there is a point in backgammon where numerically it is absolutely impossible. Now, you can't make the other person concede. You just got to keep rolling the dice, and but it doesn't matter because at that point there's like literally there's no way you can lose. There's no way that person can win, and people just continue to just want to play. And it's like, come on, why don't you just give up? Nope. It's like, okay, you absolutely know there's nothing you can do here, right? Like I can just keep rolling a 1-2 repeatedly, and I'm going to still win because you don't have enough people, right? And that's where Trump is now. Look at his body language. Look at what he's doing. He's very quiet these days. I mean, these lawyers, they're running into what you started off with. You can say whatever you want outside of a courtroom. As that article that you and I both read said, you can flail papers outside the Four Seasons Landscaping or the Four Seasons Hotel and say whatever wild, outlandish things you want. Then you go into a courtroom, and then a judge asks you the real questions. And it's like, well, Your Honor, we're not saying it actually happened. We're just saying it could have happened. Well, yeah, it could have. And that person, could have been your parent. It could not have been. I mean, it's a point where it borders upon, the ridiculous. So no, Joe Biden is going to be president. Trump is going to eventually have to accept it when he moves out.
So
He ain't. It's
I
done.
agree Joe Biden is president. I agree Joe Biden will eventually get into the White House on
Yeah.
January 20th.
Yeah.
I think the road between here and there is very messy, and it's going to be difficult. And it's going to require it's going to require us to continue to be vigilant in this moment, to continue to make people understand clearly that this guy lost, and he needs to go. So that's where I disagree with you on.
Who doesn't understand that other than him? I mean, his people may not understand. They don't want to accept it.
But the Republican leadership is lining up behind him now too. I thought originally we could get some of the political leaders to say, "Okay, look, this is how this country rolls. You lost. Time to move on." But they're now lining up behind him, which is very disconcerting. Very disconcerting.
Arun said, up to a certain point, they still had ammo in the Alamo. Right.
But the Alamo didn't go down quickly, and it didn't go down easily.
Yeah, but it went down. Speaking of, hey, before we get too far into this, I must pause and read another thing from Facebook Live. Now, George and Maurice, don't get mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. Please. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm only reading the message. This is from your friends on the show. Joseph Simmons writes, Reverend Bishop, can we strongly suggest that George from Center City and Maurice from Southwest get their own podcast so that they can share their self-hating views with each other?
Wow.
Right now, George is out walking his dog, and he is pissed wanting to call right now to take on Joe.
Wow.
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 All right. Look, I mean, I don't necessarily think their views are self-hating. They definitely have views but Mimi liked that.
Uh-huh.
I got a feeling a whole lot of people did. But what would the show be without George and Maurice? Huh?
Mm,
Just a couple of guys talking about 80s rap music.
mm, mm,
Oh
mm.
my
Is that
God.
right? Is that what it is? All we talk about is Run DMC. That's all it is.
My
Lord have
God. Oh, that's vicious, man. That's a vicious takedown.
mercy.
So, all right, serious news. So, yeah, so Trump is he's fighting. And in Georgia, they have apparently put enough pressure on their colleague. And I mean, look how they're going after other Republicans. In Philly, they're going after Al Schmidt.
Yeah, they definitely are, for sure.
And in Georgia, they're going after, well, Al Schmidt has more backbone, apparently. Al Schmidt is not backing down.
Well,
But it,
Trump tweeted about him,
right.
and he called him a rhino, which means
Mm,
Republican in name only. So
yeah.
he's really trying to undermine him in many different ways. But yeah, it was pretty wild.
So, um, yeah, but in Georgia, the Secretary of State, who they were all calling on to resign, is apparently giving in to the pressure.
Uh-huh.
And not only is Georgia going to do a recount, which is automatic, I believe, once it hit a certain threshold,
Right.
but he is going to allow their 5 million votes to be recounted by hand.
Yes, that's going to take forever. That's going to take forever. That is insane that they're going to do a hand I mean, if they did a section of them, that is one thing, but to do it completely by hand, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. But I mean, but the senators from Georgia were calling for his resignation. I mean, I
Hmm.
think this is the thing, right? The Republicans will eat their own in this particular moment to do anything that. This is the sign of a cult leader, not a Republican, official. That
Hmm.
people will eat their own to protect this one individual, not to protect their, their status or to protect the party, but just protecting one person. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, well, it's so what's interesting about this is that the Republicans seem to think so. A lot of the speculation out of the camps is that they think their hard line on supporting Trump, kind of keeping this in the news that, well, we don't know. Maybe he didn't lose. And then, going after Georgia in the way that they are, they actually believe, and Mitch McConnell, they say, is kind of leading this, that this helps them in the special runoff elections in Georgia with the two open Senate seats. Now, personally, I think that couldn't be further from the truth because Democrats now that these last two seats have fallen, so Alaska is done,
Right.
and what's the other state that
South
just?
Carolina.
Okay, thanks. Right, so it's a wrap now. So it's 50 to 48. The only two seats that are open now, I believe, are the two in Georgia, which means that if you're the Democrats, you understand now what is at stake in a way that you probably have never done. I cannot begin to tell you how many people I know personally who are going to Georgia or who are already in Georgia who are used. I mean, everybody who graduated from any of the CBU, HBCUs,
HBCUs. Yes. Uh-huh.
yeah. Um, any of them who graduated from there, anybody who's in a Black Greek letter organization, anybody who's got relatives in Georgia, everybody and their mother is pouring into Georgia. And the kind of attention that it's going to get is going to certainly see historic numbers of Black voters and Democratic voters in a runoff election. So I don't know. I mean, look, I'm certainly hopeful that Mitch McConnell is wrong because I just seem to think that this is going to advantage the Democrats in January and that Ossoff and Warnock might actually pull out a squeaker.
So I think what people discount, I think they think what they're doing is going to discourage people, and in particular black and brown voters. And I think what this is going to do is just piss people off. And it's going to backfire in a really big way. I think they also think that they are animating their base for this particular vote and to get them out, to get them all fired up to get out there. Like, yeah, man, dude, it's our country, man. And we're going to go fight for our country, dude. And, they're going to get out there with their, Republican flags on the thing. What?
Wait, that first of all, that might be how California Republicans sound. I don't think that's Georgia Republicans. You got to put some twang in your voice.
Yeah, I don't quite have the southern twang.
That's
So yeah.
You're right, though.
Those are the Atlanta hipster Republicans. That's what I was doing.
Oh God.
Atlanta's a little different than the rest of the state. So
No, you need to do the Chicken Switch, Georgia voice.
what's that?
You know, there's a place called Chicken Switch.
I did not know that.
It's right near the Tata River.
The Tata River. Okay.
Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
We're up on a break. I can't tell you now. All right. Yeah, but Chicken Switch, Georgia, by the Tata River. Raphael, look it up for us and tell us if I'm telling the truth. I do remember seeing that on the way to a step show some 30 plus years ago. We got to take a quick break before Kwesa jumps on us and cuts our mics off. We'll be right back. It's the Power Hour.
What's up, Philly? It's Solomon Jones. The school year is underway, but never before has that experience come in so many shapes and sizes. Is the education of your child being left to a smattering of clumsy, in-person, and virtual instruction? The COVID-19 crisis has created a market for untested virtual teaching models lacking true credibility. Maybe it's time to reconsider and check out Commonwealth Charter Academy. Here are the benefits to your family. 1. An online education provided at no cost to you, complete with laptop, headset, and help with internet access. 2. Partnership with the market leader in cyber education with a nearly 20-year track record of world-class learning. 3. Delivery of a safe, reliable, and comfortable education experience over the internet directly to the confines of your living room. Visit ccaeducate.me today and discover the gold standard of cyber education. That's ccaeducate.me.
This year's been tough, but it's given me a lot of time to learn new skills through the internet.
I've been joining more classes during lockdown.
I'm doing an internship.
I taught myself how to play guitar.
So when people ask,
Will I be able to learn online?
I feel like I'm ready.
Internet Essentials from Comcast has connected millions of families from low-income homes to the internet. So no matter what back to school looks like, students can be ready for anything. Learn more at comcast.com/Internet Essentials.
At Pico, we know one thing is certain. Times have changed. From kitchen classrooms to couch conference calls, searching for a new job, or new ways to keep your family connected. These changes have become a part of our reality. That's why our teams are working 24/7 to meet the needs of our communities. So no matter how much things change, you can depend on Pico to be there with the energy and help you need to power through. Learn more at pico.com.
Tune in this Sunday at 4 p.m. for the Halal Industry Show with information on economic justice, hosted by Imam Wali Bilal. Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. Not too bad here in Philadelphia as of southbound 95. Building a big coming down through bridge through the work zone and get Allegheny through Girard. Northbound looks pretty good. Westbound Vine Expressway, Lake Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill itself both ways, not bad yet. Westbound between University and South Streets, volume there through the construction, getting a bit busy. Eastbound side looks good. PA Turnpike, Blue Route 476, no major problems or delays this morning. For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Independent Black Media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne Royster. During the break, we have been looking up Chickasaw, and it is actually Chickawasachi something of that nature. It's in Terrell County, Georgia. And Dr. Tyler was remarking that it was on his way to a step show, so he could have really seen just about anything at that particular moment in time. Not sure exactly what condition he was in that moment.
I was in college, everybody.
He was in college.
So,
and
yes.
He was a wonderful college student. We know that.
Yeah, so they say. Listen, a couple other things about the election, and I do want to talk about, if we get a chance, these COVID numbers.
Yeah.
But only in Philadelphia will we take something as funny as the Four Seasons episode.
Oh,
where Giuliani. So literally, I kept thinking when he said he was going to the Four Seasons that he was going to the Four Seasons Hotel, right? The new Four Seasons atop the Comcast Center. And I was thinking, cool. I haven't seen it yet. Be nice to see what the inside looks like. So on Saturday Night Live, we're watching it, and one of my daughters is cracking up when they're outside the Four Seasons landscaping place. And I'm like, what's so funny? She said, that's where they really were. And I'm like, no, you're kidding. So apparently now there is a new thing in Philly that's been put together. Maybe you all have seen it. If you're a runner, you're interested in this. If you missed the Broad Street run this year because of COVID, it was moved and they finally canceled it. But now you can participate in the first ever Fraud Street run.
Oh, no.
Yes, the Fraud Street run. So you can run from the Four Seasons Total Landscaping in Northeast Philadelphia down to the real Four Seasons as a part of this 11-mile run, and now it's going to be virtual. So those of you like me who do not run, who don't have runner's lungs anymore, you too can run in the Fraud Street run. And let's remember Rudy Giuliani's probably lowest moment ever. And that's hard to think he could top some of his lower moments, but that's got to be one of the lowest ones. Also in election news, talking about fraud. So the only actual case of voter irregularity and attempted voter fraud, according to Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman in Pennsylvania this year, was not done by a black Democratic voter in Philadelphia. It was done by a white Pennsylvanian who is Republican, who tried to cast a ballot for his dead mama.
Oh, wow. His dead mama.
His mama dead.
Was he Republican? I mean, was he a Trump voter? He was a Trump voter?
He was a Republican.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a Trump voter, but he was a Republican. He was not, he's not from a Democrat-run city, as Trump says. I keep wanting to tell him it's Democratic-run city, but not a Democrat-run city. And so I mean, all these allegations of fraud, and the only people out here doing it, it's the Republicans. Add to this now that apparently the postal worker who alleged that he overheard his manager telling other employees to backdate ballots last week. Didn't say he was told to. He overheard it. This became the basis of a lawsuit that he is now essentially, apparently to all reports, that he is recanted. And there's an allegation that he received upwards of $130,000 from persons sympathetic to the president's reelection campaign to make the story up to begin with.
Yes.
But black folk are down here still in an election.
Yes. I mean, it was actually kind of funny because Trump, this guy was the one they ran with, right? They were like, there's voter fraud in the mail system.
In Erie County.
Now this guy is recounted. He's had death threats. He's had all kinds of things as a result of this. And it's just like, yo, you cannot play with these people right now. This is absolutely insane about what's happening with that. But I mean, he recanted. He said what he said. And now, there's, again, more frivolous lawsuits happening because of that one statement that was said inappropriately. And it was hearsay, right? And in the court of law, it's hearsay.
Right. And first of all, listen, when you're trying to ear hustle on somebody else's conversation, you're never going to get it all.
That's right.
So that's the first thing, that the allegation is based not on my supervisor came and told me to backdate this, or I witnessed my supervisor backdate, or I witnessed anyone else. No, I overheard a conversation. You know what? You can hear whatever you want to hear when you want to hear something. And you can convince yourself. Just like I thought I saw chicken switch Georgia. And we come to find out that I did not see chicken switch.
The only thing that would have made it more interesting is that if you actually saw two chickens crossing the road and switching to the other side.
Two chickens switching down the road.
Okay.
That joke can go too far. We should probably stop right now.
Why?
Right? Yeah. Or you run off the air. But no, I mean, but seriously, it's like, this is the thing, right? I mean, we always talk about Trump and his supporters, mastering the art of projection. And so typically so I read this interesting Facebook post from someone who essentially said this, I'll paraphrase, that for a person who has spent his life cheating to get ahead, he can't believe that anyone ever actually, wins by playing by the rules.
That's right.
And so if that's how you have always operated and you've always taken advantage and gamed the system, then, you can't possibly believe. And add to that the racialized stereotypes, because as someone else said in a different post, the only cities that he is challenging and the only votes he's challenging typically are black votes. So is the black vote in Georgia? No, count them by hand. It's the black vote that came out of Pennsylvania late from Philadelphia. Count them over. It's the black vote in Milwaukee and in Detroit. So they can't be telling the truth because, after all, they can't be trusted.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing into the tropes, right, about who black folk are and about how this whole thing plays out. I couldn't agree more. And I've said this over and over again to people. I said, he's not coming after voters in Pennsylvania. He's coming after black voters in Pennsylvania. That's where his issue is. And he's going to do everything he can, use all his racial dog whistles and everything else that goes along with that to discount the voters in Philadelphia, to discount the voters that are coming out of Pittsburgh, black voters out of Pittsburgh, to discount the black voters that are in other counties across the state. They're actually suing Center County in Pennsylvania as well, because it actually has a large black population. Center County is where Happy Valley is, Penn State. There's actually a large black population in that area that voted. So he's coming after black votes. And I was, trying to explain to people earlier. I said, when we are not defending, what we're saying is the black voters is that their votes don't matter. And so we've got to fight to defend every one of these votes as legitimate and right for our country.
That's absolutely right. And we got to cast those votes. Right now, I saw an interesting piece by Mark Lamont Hill in The Root, where he's, it's not his article, but he's being interviewed. Mark, our city's own. And he's basically kind of making the argument, that we make all the time, which is black elected officials are not going to necessarily, just because they're black, be drawn to progressive ideas or kind of, pushing for agenda items that we think are important. And I mean, look, that's not revolutionary. That's just kind of, I think, what we have discovered is just common sense now, right? That if you want people to do your bidding, you got to stay in their face. And unless you have big sums of money to put into their reelection campaigns, like one of these major corporations, and if you don't have that, then you have to do what we do, which is people power, right? You got to pressure people with votes and phone calls and emails, text messages. You have to show up to their hearings. You got to show up to their committee meetings. You got to be in their face all the time. And I don't know why we think that somehow things are going to change and get better for us without us engaging in the process outside of elections. Right. If you have a toolkit or, toolbox, you go to a house, to go to build a house, you don't just use the hammer, right? You got to use all the other stuff too, the screwdrivers, the wrenches, the sockets. And so we think that we can do all of this with one tool, voting. That is one and probably the most important, but it's only one.
Yeah, well, I think, so let me just go back. I mean, there's a reason for this. So when we think about the Voting Rights Act and the work of the Civil Rights Movement, right, it was about getting the franchise recognized for black folk, right? Franchise, we're talking about vote being recognized. I think the problem is that folk thought, oh, okay, now we got the vote, everything's going to be all right. And the reality is that is not the case. Just because you vote, it does a piece of the whole democratic process, but it's not the whole democratic process. It's a piece of the democratic process. It is the start of the democratic process. You put somebody in office, that's good. Now, and I mean, and part of this has to do with the fact that we have cults of personality. So we elect people, you know, the elections in our country are really more popularity contests than they are driven by policy. Do I like this person? For example, the best policies for the African American community were not Joe Biden's policies. They were not even Kamala Harris's policies. The best policies that would be in the best interest of the black community would have been Bernie Sanders' policies. But a whole lot of people couldn't throw down with Bernie because of his personality, how he came across, some gaps in his own understanding of the world. So people, so we wound up electing Joe Biden, right? Because Jim Clyburn, and I will say this until I die, Jim Clyburn is the only reason Joe Biden is president-elect today. I'm just saying that, right? A black man in South Carolina is the only reason he is the president-elect today. So, but people, so we heard in the civil rights movement, vote, 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 vote. But what happened is we did not talk then about the arc of organizing and the arc of building power. And so I think a lot of people just called on to the fact that we just got to get out and vote, and then our problem is solved. Well, no, because now you have, once we get people elected, they have competing interest, right? As a former elected official, the first thing you're taught is that your number one job is to get reelected.
Yep.
So you do what you got to do to get reelected. So you cut deals, you make agreements, you do all kinds of things. You break deals so that you can go ahead and get reelected again. And it requires a lot of work. And so what happens is if we are not in the face of our political leaders consistently, the lobbyists are there. I mean, we talked about it before when we were doing the airport work, trying to get the wages changed at the airport. And literally, the lobbyists for American Airlines, we were going in one office, they were coming in right after us. We'd go in another office, they were coming in right after us. And they were working so much so that the very first time we actually got to city council for a hearing around this, when we had commitments from political leaders, they broke our commitments the night before. And when we went to the hearing that next day, the council people would not look us in the eye because they had brokered deals the night before to keep certain people in the city of Philadelphia happy. If you're not in their face all the time, eventually we won, and we won big, praise the Lord. But it took us a while to have to work that because we were battling companies that were throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars in lobbying, and we had to work people power in that moment. And we eventually won. We won big. We actually, because of some mistakes that some political leaders made, they didn't realize that we would actually be smart enough to figure out some ways to get around them. And we actually were able to go ahead and win and do what we had to do. So I just think we have to remind people over and over again that if you voted, that's great. We celebrate you. But now we've got to do the work of organizing. We've got to come together in a big way. We need to push an agenda that's relevant to our community that's going to be able to create change.
Well, so speaking of that agenda, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the Biden administration.
Yeah.
I was listening to AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez out of New York.
That's right.
I think a part of the problem is with a lot of progressives, and I say this as a person from the West Coast who's now living on the East Coast, but spent considerable time in my adult life in the middle of the country. Places like Ohio, and not in the, I lived in cities in Ohio, but also lived in places like Oxford, Ohio, Jefferson City, Missouri, around, not only conservative white folk, but conservative black folk. And I think sometimes we fail to understand how change operates. There's a need to want to get all of our agenda done in one administration or even in 1 year.
Yeah.
And sometimes that push can scare the hell out of people who are unfamiliar with, things that we take for granted. You know what I mean? And so so I'm always concerned that it's like the Democrats are going to replay 2010, where it's like, yeah, you get everything you want, and then you lose the House and the Senate for years. And we haven't had the Senate in 10 years now.
Right.
10 years, control over who becomes members of the Supreme Court.
Right.
We couldn't even get a Supreme Court justice with a Democratic president because the Republicans said, nah, we're good. We'll take our chances of re-election. And they proved that they were right. And I'm saying what we don't appreciate is, so we want to push our agenda, toward the center as though the center doesn't have votes too. And I just have this feeling that if we do it, it's going to be a replay, but I don't know. Maybe Joe Biden is different, doesn't give in to that.
Though. He's not a progressive.
Well, people said the same thing about Obama. They said Obama wasn't either.
Kamala Harris is not a progressive either. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a very moderate centrist government right now.
Well, here's the deal. See, Bernie couldn't get elected nationally because Bernie couldn't get through a primary that had to run through those other kind of states. AOC is the same way. And I mean, I know she believes that she can. I like her ideas, but I'm saying you have to run in countrywide, not in your district in New York City. But we got to take a break. This is, I mean, hopefully we can kind of continue this conversation because I think this is also part of the fight for what comes next and how we prioritize things and how we also balance that with the reality that if you're not in power, you can't do any of it. And so sometimes it's better to get some of it and not all of it for now, and you can get the rest down the road. But we'll be right back. It's the Power Hour. Sitting across from me is Bishop Dwayne David Royster, and this is Mark Kelly Tyler. We'll be right back.
COVID-19 impacted a lot of things this year, including regular vaccination appointments. Vaccines help protect you and everyone around you, especially during flu season. Schedule an appointment with your healthcare provider today to make sure you and your children are vaccinated. Vaccines keep us safe, and they work. Skip the flu this year. Get your vaccination today. Let's stay protected together. For more information, visit health.pa.gov, paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Pennsylvania's COVID-19 mobile testing unit, KATE, will soon be coming to the area. Anyone who would like to be tested or receive free information and resources can attend a KATE tour stop. All services are first come, first served, and no appointments or insurance are required. Many stops will also provide free flu shots. To learn when KATE will be making a stop near you, please visit KATE, C-A-T-E, mobileunit.com.
I ain't no better than you, and you ain't no better than me. But we all have something in common. We all are species, seeds of God's creation.
Tune in to Messages in the Music every Friday night with Joey T, midnight to 6 a.m. right here on WURD.
Livelihood, the new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey.
Work, 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 work. To me, I be work.
Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Store. Still not too bad as you make your way here in Philadelphia. As usual, volume picking up southbound 95, Cottman down through Bridge, through the construction again, Allegheny through Girard, getting heavy northbound, not bad. Westbound Vine Expressway. Delays 8th out to Broad again from the Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Now the Schuylkill westbound University through 30th, busy there through construction, eastbound side. Still not too bad this morning. PA Turnpike, Blue Route 476 looking good. 55 northbound Deptford into 42 now, getting a bit heavy there this morning. Staples has great deals on the hottest brands and must-have gifts like Apple AirPods, great for video conferences or online class. Right now, Apple AirPods are just $194. That's a $55 savings. In-store only. Offer ends 11/14, limit 2. While supplies last, save big at Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne David Royster. Hey, WURD listeners, rep your support for WURD Radio, Philly's black-owned, black talk radio station, now through November 16th. Get a free WURD sweatshirt when you join or renew your membership. Use the code SAVESPACE, as in the new show Save Space, hosted by Sincerely Sarita, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Go to wordradio.com/join now and use the code SAVESPACE to rep Black Talk Media today. So check it out. Go ahead and get your WURD membership and use the term Save Space. Support Sincerely Sarita and her new show. And continue to support Black Talk Media that's been absolutely critical for the independent voice that it is throughout this election cycle. All right. Where did we leave off? We were arguing about something.
No, we're just talking about, the whole, you know, the tendency of progressives to want it all at one time, and I'm not just going to put it on them either, because you know the Tea Party was the same way.
So,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I support progressive ideas.
I take that personally.
Well, what my point though is that so unlike
why shouldn't we want it now though? I mean, the Republicans don't have any problem getting what they want now. I mean, they do some long-term agenda work, right? I mean, this whole thing about the courts, right? It's strategic. It's a very strategic plan on their part. But I mean, look, you know, after we've been suffering for so long, why can't we get something now? Why can't we?
It's not about that. It's about if you want to get anything, you know, understand what I'm saying? It's like you have to have the position, right? So you have great ideas, but if you're not in position to implement said ideas, then they're nothing but ideas. They don't become reality if you're not in power. And to stay in power, it's a balancing act. I mean, it just is. And so if you don't understand the electorate in the country and respect it, and understand that the electorate in this country is not far left and it is not far right. The general sense of the electorate, it has proven it time and time again, it is centrist. And it doesn't like to move too far in either direction. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm just saying what is. And so if you understand that and you understand how to thread the needle between advancing the things that you want and that you think are important, and at the same time maintaining enough power to actually do it. You can't do anything without the Senate. Can't do anything without the House. Can't do anything without the presidency. Can't do anything without the Supreme Court. And we seem to be okay with winning battles and losing wars over and over and over again. And I just don't,
But isn't politics also a war of ideas, right? In that if you don't get it out there in the public square, then you can't even begin to move towards it, right? Right? I mean, isn't that right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, you got to put ideas out. But again, it's the unreasonable part, which is
why is it unreasonable?
You didn't. Well, let me finish. The unreasonable part is, so let's take Larry Krasner for a moment. Now, Larry is about the most progressive district attorney that you've seen in a very long time anywhere in the country. He's actually, there are police officers who are being tried right now for things that they would have never been tried for, before. And we've seen it even with a black DA who claimed to have been progressive, And so, but yet, well, I said claims. Okay. And so, but within kind of that, within the progressive community around issues of reform and district attorneys, so they would say Larry's probably done 75 or 80% of what we wanted, but not 100%. He still hasn't done this, this, and this. This is his first term. And so let's throw him out. So my question,
that's a bad idea. Yeah,
well, my question is immediately, well, who do you replace him with?
Right.
I mean, well, we don't know. But he's like, he had done everything, so he got to go. I'm like, that's just doesn't make any sense. It's, so do you think Lynn Abraham would have ever charged the person who shot David Jones in the back? No.
Never.
Do you think Seth would have done it? I can answer the question because when he had a chance to do it with Brandon Tate Brown's killer, that cop, no. Do you think either one of them would have gone to Walter Wallace's family's funeral and spoken up for the family over the two cops who killed him? No. And yet it's not good enough. You see what I mean? It's like, yeah, but we want all of it, not just most of it. And so throw him out and let's just take our chances with somebody who is more like U.S. Attorney Meg Swain. I'm like, there has to be a certain pragmatism to progressive ideas. And that if you don't control the seats, then you don't get anything that you want versus getting a whole lot of what you want, but not all of it at one time.
So let me just say this again, that politics is also a battlefield of ideas, and that to be able to get to the middle, you have to sometimes put out and espouse ideas that are extreme to either side so you can get to the center. And so we have to throw out ideas. We have to try things. We have to push the boundaries so that we can at least get to the middle of where we're trying to go. That's all I'm saying.
But you and I know that ain't what I'm saying, because you know what I'm talking about, the people that I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about. And I agree they're problematic in some circumstances, right? I totally agree with that. But
I know I'm right now. I know I'm right.
Throwing the baby with the bathwater, yes.
Well, Will Mega just said he disagrees with me 100%, so I know I'm right. Thank you, Will, for confirming that I'm on track this morning. Appreciate it. Like, yeah. No, I know that I don't need somebody to agree with me because I know that you don't have a person in the DA's office who will go after killer cops, and you have one who actually comes out and is, endorsed by the FOP, supported by the FOP. Look, you got a good DA when the FOP hates him and wants him out and runs signs saying we want to primary him. That's the kind of DA you want. And it's the same thing with, so Biden is going to get in and watch immediately. Progressives are going to be flying all over the place, crying and pissed off because he didn't do this, he didn't do that. And I'm like, again, do you want another Trump? I mean, you're talking about eating your own. You have to have some pragmatism, and you have to play the long game, not the short game. That's all I'm getting at.
I'm saying we got to do both. We got to play the long game, short game, and the middle game, right? And
agreed.
I think that one of the things that the Republicans have done very well is that they have outboxed us in terms of playing the long game. Yep. They started this back with the Southern strategy when Nixon was in office. They developed a plan, and they fought for at least 20 years until Ronald Reagan got in office. And then they began to assert their power more and more throughout those years until they eventually got what they wanted. So I totally agree with you, and I think progressives and moderates, for that matter, need to get together and ask ourselves the question, what's the 40-year plan to power that we're actually going to be able to reshape the country? Because that's really what it's going to take at this point.
Well, you have to have these important seats, and to keep these national seats alive. So, for example, you have to understand how your local thing plays out in a larger scene. So, we're going to have some folk on talking about defund. I support defunding the police because I know what it's about. But I think that the word is problematic. And I know that it scares people. It scares black people, who live in neighborhoods that are getting shot up. And when they hear it, it's like, oh, God, you're trying to take the police. I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. So let me kind of walk you through what it means. They're like, oh, well, nobody said it that way. I know. But so the language is, it puts national politicians in a place where, are you for defund? And so if you say yes, then of course all of a sudden you're branded nationally as a person who wants anarchy. That's not what you want. You want public safety.
That's right.
So, but what I'm getting at is, again, as progressives, we have to figure out how to message things better and understand that we're not just playing to our base where it's safe. Dwight Evans can say whatever he wants in Philadelphia. That's not so with the Democrats who've been elected outside of Philadelphia. And the farther you get away from Bucks, Montco, Delco, and Chester, it becomes a different playing field. And if you don't have the majority in the House, then you can't get any of this done. That's it. That's it, bro.
I hear you.
Hey,
I feel your pain.
Yeah. It's frustrating, but all right. So look, I know we're almost out of time, but it's rare that you see this. Have you seen this story about the brother who gave the money to all the Morehouse students, paid their tuition?
And then he's now in jail or something, didn't he? He's up on charges or something.
Oh man, his brother got off. You don't usually see this. He rolled on the white dude.
Oh really?
He paid $139 million in back taxes. Robert Smith cut a deal with the feds and is snitching on the white guy who showed him how to basically hide his money.
Oh wow.
You don't see that often, do you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
He's
like, I'm not made for jail, and I got money. I'm just gonna pay my bills, and I'm gonna get out of this. Well, did he take care of the students first? That's all I'm concerned about.
Oh yeah, I know several of those families who actually received, whose students were graduates in that class.
Mm-hmm.
So he was supposed to pay off their entire student debt. I'm going to check into that. Maybe I can report on that tomorrow. That is interesting. I hope those bills got paid.
Yeah.
But yeah, he paid $139 million apparently in this deal, and is cooperating with the feds now against his co-conspirator. And let that be a lesson to all of you.
And let me just say that if there's a billionaire out there that'd like to pay off my student loan debt, I'm available. I just want to let you know that. So,
even if he's been stealing even if his money is dirty, you take dirty money? Never mind.
We'll make it holy.
But at my first church in Missouri, a woman asked, Can the church receive money from people who sell drugs?
What'd you say?
You know, in seminary, that would have been a real theological, you know, brain twister till I saw the books.
Lord have mercy.
Just
All right,
leave it there.
it's time to go on that one. Yes. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here with us today on the Power Hour. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinions. We appreciate you listening. Thank you, Croisa, for all that you do, holding it down as Jam Master Jay. We deeply appreciate that. And we will be back tomorrow morning. Listen, go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun.